y'all. It's hitting hard. So what will happen is after that storm hits, we'll come in, the Secretary of Agriculture or the President will declare that it was a disaster after he gets the data about it, or they get the data about it. And then we'll come in and we'll offer emergency loans, and we can also offer disaster recovery programs. So that's very important. Conservation programs, actually, let me go to my next slide because this might go in more in depth. Yes, it did. Our conservation programs include CRP, which is the Conservation Reserve Program, and that puts land out of production. So you keep your land with nothing going on it, and we will actually make payments every year on that because we want to conserve a wetland or a natural resource that is on that land. We also have programs that help you, the Farm Storage Facility Loan Program. Say you had a crop, but you couldn't get that crop to market without going through a packing procedure. We could help you pay through a loan for that packing house. So that would be helpful for anyone who is going to like a farmer's market or who was going to sell like Cisco or something like that. You need to put that crop into a packaged unit. So, and you need a sterile environment to do that. So we help pay for packing houses, we help pay for grain bins, we help pay for refrigerated houses. You know, if you have something like a fruit or something like that that needs to be refrigerated. So there's a lot that goes under the farm storage facility loan. And we'll get a little more into loans in a bit, but our loans are very competitive when it comes to our interest rates. And so that is good for our beginning farmers because it allows you to get into the market at a more favorable rate. We also have the organic cost share program. And this is something that I really want to push here in Tennessee. Tennessee, we have a ton of folks who are participating in organic practices, but they are not actually certified at the USDA level. And it's a shame. It's really a shame. But the most prohibitive part of that is the cost. And so what we are aiming to do with the FSA is make that a little bit better, and we will pay 50% of the cost of becoming organically certified, up to $500. So usually it's $1,000 or in that range. So we're paying about half the cost for you to get organically certified. So if anyone has any friends who are doing any organic, if y'all are doing organic yourself, please consider actually going through the certification process and talk to us about it because we'll help you pay it. It is a reimbursement though, so you do have to pay up front and then we reimburse you on the back end after you have received the certification. So I definitely wanted to mention that, and there's a brochure over there about the organic cost share. We already talked about acreage reporting a little bit. That's just where we talked about, there's a map. Every year you come in and say, here's where my crops are on that map. So we ask that you do that every year to participate in our programs. And the reason that is so important, and I actually want to bring this up because the agricultural census is going out this year. When you report your crops and when you participate in an agricultural census, that goes back to Congress. And it tells Congress what Tennesseans are doing with their farms. And it actually makes sure that we get money to give back to farmers. So when we make everyone present and accounted for, you know, everyone gets real upset. They say, I don't want to give the government my information. And I get it. I totally get it. But it is important that when, you know, someone asks, like, what are you doing here on these farms? As long as they are legitimately from the government, you know, check it out. Make sure we got a little name tag or something on. But make sure that you do give that information because it is so important that Congress knows that, you guys may not know this, but agriculture is the #1 industry in Tennessee. And so it is important that Congress knows that it is the #1 industry and how impactful it is on Tennessee's economy. So anyways, that's my soapbox of please help us get money. And it also helps UT get money too, because UT gets a lot of pass-through grants from the USDA. So it trickles down into your community in ways that, you know, you can always find when you poke around, but may not be evident at first glance. Absolutely.
Well, my first question
I'm gonna step away. This is like really
is, I got two unrelated. My first one, is this for people who are trying to do farmers market or sell this, or is this for people who are homesteading? Like, at what point do you say, nah, you don't have to do anything with us?
It's highly individual. So it really kind of depends on what program. Almost everyone, not everyone, but almost everyone will find a program for you to participate in. Say you were going to the farmers markets, the organic program would be great for you. We also have something called NAP, which is if you cannot get normal crop insurance, you can sign up for NAP and you can get crop insurance on those crops that are not normal commodities. You know what I mean? So that would be for your farmers market folks.
So, but if I don't plan on selling anything and I just give my excess away, I mean, I'm just a hobby farmer with a 16 by 20 garden that I live through each year. It depends on my energy level.
Yeah.
This is not for me.
You might be interested in a loan. You might be interested in, something like that to help expand. We also, through our partners at NRCS, have like high tunnels. So that might be something, it doesn't have to be necessarily with FSA that you work with,
Right.
but there might be something within the USDA umbrella that you would be interested in that would fit your operation.
So if I had the other side of my property, which is fairly open, but at a slight incline, and I decided I wanted to open that up to grow larger, just for me and some friends, then I could look at doing a loan because the fencing that would be required around that. For
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, my other question is, once somebody registers for this, is there additional oversight and restrictions that all of a sudden they find themselves under? Like now somebody's in your business and they're telling you, no, you've been doing that wrong for all these years. You can no longer do that way anymore.
Yes, there are
Outside of organic, I know organic, but I mean just your standard.
No, there are eligibility requirements. Actually, I am going to go back and stand over here now because I forgot they're listening to me on this computer. There are definitely eligibility requirements for our programs. And so, for instance, if you were to sign up for the NAP program, that's the one that's crop insurance for not normal crops. Or they're normal, but they're not what the big crop insurance companies are going after. Let's say you got squash. So you want to participate in NAP. We are going to have to send someone out to your farm because you may have a wetland in the middle that you're completely unaware of. Well, you might have a wetland right there in the middle of your crop, and we can't count that. That's an eligibility requirement that you protect wetlands. So yes, there are going to be eligibility requirements, but we really hope that most of them are stuff like that, where you see where we're coming from as far as that eligibility goes. We're not just going to ask you to start doing practices that you consider unethical or that you are not agreeing with. It is some
find and feed.
Yes. Yeah. No, it should not be anything like that. It should be we're protecting this resource and we want to help you do that. Does that make sense? And of course, always, if you don't agree with it, you can say, I want to get rid of that wetland. I'm just not going to participate in this program. And you own that land, and that is completely up to you. So that's just, but then you can't come back later and say, I really want that money. And same thing, I mentioned the program where you leave your land fallow, where you leave it just completely doing nothing, the CRP program. Say a little ways down the road, you say, I really need to put in a field there. I need to put in some wheat. You just exit the program. You don't get paid anymore, but you don't meet the eligibility anymore. And that's a personal decision that you're making as the proprietor of your land. So I mean, I personally, sometimes I see some of these eligibilities, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know what you're doing. But then that's when it's on us to explain to you the thinking behind those eligibility requirements, if that makes sense. So great question though. Thank you for asking that. Anyone else have anything top of mind? Anyone online? Carla, are you keeping an eye on the chat? Cool. Okay, so we'll get into loans because that might be, and real estate folks, I want y'all paying attention because we actually, just before y'all got here, we're talking about how a lot of people don't know that FSA offers loans. And you're probably very familiar with rural development loans, because that's a lot of real estate, but we actually do have, first we're going to talk about operating loans, but there's also ownership loans. So our operating loans can be used to purchase your everyday expenses. So if you wanted to buy seeds, if you wanted to buy a small tractor, if you wanted to put in a barn or something like that, if you wanted to buy some cows, these are your year-to-year expenses that are rolling, is your operating loans. And as you can see, it goes up to $400,000, and the current interest rate is 3.625. So really in today's market, that's pretty good interest rates. Yeah, I will mention when it comes to operating and ownership loans, or really any of our loans, we are the federal government. We are not in competition with your local lenders. Very specifically, not in competition with your local lenders. If you can get a loan from a local lender like Farm Credit or a regular bank, we want you to be getting a loan through them because they are the free market. But if you cannot get a loan through them, you can come to us and we can talk. And that's where we fit in the world of loans, is helping those folks who need a leg up. And there's still eligibility requirements, like always. There's still going to be some folks who we turn down. But we want to hit that sweet spot of folks who are really, really trying to improve their credit or have some kind of limiting factor, and we can help them, step in and be that helping hand. So we talked about operating loans. Ownership loans was what I was talking to Carla about before y'all got here. This can be used for land purchases, including land that has a house on it. So yeah, we've got a perk up over there. Now, I will say for the real estate folks in the back, you can't move fast. It's not a fast moving loan. We don't have any underwriters. Our loan officers do it front to back, the whole thing, just one person. So it is methodical, and it is not like something where you're just gonna be running out there making these like quick offers and things like that. But I actually just worked with the real estate agent who sold me my house, ended up doing a loan through us. And he was like, you know what? It was slower, but it was a dream. Because he was like, I knew every single thing was checked off and it was done right. So this is something that's great. Limit $600,000, pretty decent interest rate there, and up to 40 years. But you can also go smaller if you would like. But this is for land purchases, capital improvements, soil and water conservation, and we do include loan closing and related expenses in these loans. So really a pretty good offer if you are eligible for it.
Are there any repercussions for early payoff?
I don't believe so.
Or penalties, I guess, for early payoff?
I would have to double check that, but I really don't think that there are. Because I think we've had farmers who do that, and I can't think of any repercussions that they have had. So,
and some of your conventional banks will have a problem with that.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. We also have guaranteed loans that are through a regular bank but are backed by us. I think those may have a penalty, but I don't believe that ours do. I'll have to ask that follow-up question though to a loan officer. I'm not actually a loan officer. I just think it's cool that we have these loans. Okay, this is very attractive to a lot of our beginning farmers, is our micro loans. These are smaller, they're $50,000, but there's less paperwork. You don't have to have as much as you do for our conventional loans. So if you are interested in a micro loan, this is how a lot of folks get started. Oh, I see you're perking up.
That's my magic number to get in my
house. They're smaller though. We want you to repay them in 7 years, but it is also a smaller amount of money. And when you're going through, you don't have to have as much of the, underwriting things in there for a micro loan. So this is something that a lot of folks start out with, and you start with a micro loan, and then we get, 5-7 years down the road, we can pop you up to a full ownership or operating loan after we've improved your credit and, done a little work there with the micro loan. So it's really a good kind of like beginning step in that process, especially for beginning farmers. And these are our guaranteed loans. Like I said, these are the ones that are done by a free market lender, like Farm Credit or something like that. what we do is we back the loan at 95%. They love them. They want to make these loans because they're not putting anything on the line. We are. The federal government is backing it. So the banks are all about making a guaranteed loan. And that's also something that's really good if you are interested in, you know, maybe you don't want to get, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought now. You don't want to get the, you can't get the normal loans yet. You get one of these guaranteed loans, and then we get a little ways down the line, and then you can get a full loan on the free market. So it's kind of an assistive thing. And as you see here, you can get almost $2 million with it. So there's a lot of flexibility here. And your local, I'm actually going to look it up for Carla, but we think the local loan officer is Patrick Moore for this area. He's actually out of Dixon, but he covers this area, and he's actually come to speak with Extension before. And he knows everything backwards and forwards. I can't tell you that much about loans beyond what's on this page, but he can.
USDA employee?
Yes. Yeah. So he would love to talk to you about any of these loans. And then I'm going to talk to you all a little bit today also about just opportunities within the USDA, not just FSA, but all of the USDA to be more involved if you are interested in that. The first one is participating on an advisory committee. So like we have advisory committees for things like the organic program. And actually one of our TSU professors at TSU, what's his, Dr. Nandwani?
Yes, he does the organic program.
Yes, he's on the advisory council. So he is from here in Tennessee. He knows what Tennesseans are facing, and he is representing that in Washington, which is fantastic. And I mean, I'm hoping that's going to increase our participation in the organic program. But you know, you don't have to be a professor to be on an advisory board. They do want regular producers facing regular problems day in and day out to be on these boards. And it helps, it really helps smaller farmers have a voice. And then I also have a thing over there, and this is just, it's to sign up for our, did I bring it? I can't see that far right now. But signing up for our newsletters and things like that lets you know about these opportunities. So our Gov Delivery newsletters are involved, are a way to get involved. Through our partner organization, NRCS, there are soil and water conservation districts, and they help make determinations. They have committees, they increase participation in the NRCS programs, but they also help administer the programs. So we were talking about that wetland thing earlier. The soil and water conservation district would help determine whether that was actually a wetland or not. And the reason we do it this way, we have soil and water conservation districts, is we don't want you thinking it is just a faceless person in Washington who is making these determinations. It is not. It is your friends and neighbors who know what you are dealing with. And they look at these things and they say, you know, I'm reading all the requirements and that is a wetland. But, you know, you actually know the folks and you can talk to the folks and they're involved in your community, not just some bureaucrat like me. So that is what the Soil and Water Conservation District is, and you can be involved in that. Or you can be involved in our FSA county committees. And they're very similar. They help if you are going to be like in the NAP program that we were talking about, the crop insurance one. If you put in that field of squash, the county committee would look at it later on when you submitted that application, and they would say, yes, she put in that field of squash, absolutely right. And we're going to give her money for it. Or they would say, she didn't, because there's a wetland there. So that's who's doing it. It is your friends and neighbors who are making these determinations. We have folks in the county offices who work day in and day out as federal, you know, people, and they are processing all the paperwork, but the people making the decisions are farmers. And we highly encourage anyone on this call or in this room to run for our county committees. They're actually about to open up elections here. June 15th is when we're going to be accepting nominations. You can nominate yourself. And it is just a once a month meeting. You go in and you help your local farmers. So it's an opportunity to serve your serve your country. Truthfully, it is a federal job, but really mostly serve your community. So I know I brought a thing about that. So you guys have a pamphlet there, and we would love for you to serve on the county committee. You also make hiring decisions. So that's cool. You get to hire people like Kylie, and your local folks in the office. So it really is a positive thing, because when it comes to people in our local offices, we want to know we're hiring the right people, right? And we want the input of the community. I bet none of you knew about that, right? I didn't know that before I worked for FSA. I had no idea. It depends on the size of the county. So anywhere from 5 to 11. So I'm not sure exactly. I bet it's probably on the larger end though, since it's such a large county. And those elections are held every 3 years. And I think you can serve 3 times consecutively.
How does the vote go out? I'm not.
Okay, it goes out by
Got the members, the people that signed up or what?
yeah, it goes out to everyone who is part of FSA. Everyone who has a farm number will receive a bulletin or a ballot. That's what we call it, a ballot in the mail. If you signed up to be on the committee, your name would be on there. Whoever else is running at that time, make a selection and send it back in.
So there's no notice to the public, and the public would be able to vote.
No, it is just for, but you know, that's a lot of folks. It's a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And it really is a great way to serve. Right now, our state executive director for FSA actually started at the county committee level, and now he's also a former state legislator, which also gave him a leg up. But now he's in charge of all of the USDA FSA for Tennessee. And it just gives you a lot of insight, like on those eligibility requirements and things like that. If you are nervous about the ins and outs of any of our programs, a really good way to learn it is to serve on that county committee and really get in the nitty gritty of it. So if you are interested, I would love for you to run. And
When I peeked behind those curtains, I was like, I wish I never looked.
you do find out how the sausage is made.
I've gone from volunteer to employee for 2 NGOs. I regretted it every time. So I finally cut this, no more.
Well, we will pay you for your time. So that is also part of it.
Do the ballots include bios of the folks that are running? Like if JQ Public suddenly shows up, what do we know about her?
We actually, so I mentioned that we send out newsletters. We send out their bios in our newsletters.
Okay.
Yeah. And then of course you're always, we're not scary people. You're welcome to call us and like ask like, hey, who's on the ballot? What are they doing? What do we know about them? It's not gossipy. It's just finding out things.
We do that well.
Yeah. So yeah, it is, you should know who you're voting for. So we try and put that out there. And again, it should be, folks in the community. And Clarksville's a larger community, so you might not know every single person, of course, but we want to make sure that it is people who have a good reputation. So, great question. Anyone else? I love that there's interest in this. This is very encouraging. I do want to mention that we are starting urban and suburban county committees. So right now we don't have a lot of representation in urban agriculture, but the national office from Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack has started this initiative, and they're going to be starting urban and suburban county committees. So it's not just rural areas who will be represented in this way. I think Nashville is set to be piloted. Nashville and Memphis, maybe Knoxville, are set to be piloted in the next 3 or 4 years. So that'll be
What are they piloting specifically?
an urban county committee.
The committee, not
The programs are available everywhere, but we want to have these urban and suburban county committees to have the specific knowledge base for those producers. So right now, if you're in Nashville, I'm from Nashville, the person making decisions about your programs is in Robertson County. So we want to change that. We want to have people in those areas who know what urban agriculture is and what it looks like who are making the decisions.
Is there I don't know what to call it. I learned about, okay, so Petersburg, Virginia is a food desert. And when I worked for the city of Petersburg, I did not participate in this program because it was between WSU, New State University, here in Petersburg, the city of Petersburg, the USDA. They all three combined. And they took an old YMCA and converted it into an indoor urban garden. So they had hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics. Which one has a tilapia? Where they have
what is that called?
tilapia recycle that water.
I mean, it is
for
hydroponics.
Stuff like that.
That's
and waste
hydroponics,
from
but
the-
there's like a specific word for it.
Aquaponics.
Aquaponics.
Okay, and you know, the LED grow lighting, and I mean, it was just a big, massive
That sounds great. That sounds so cool.
situation. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't a massive production, but massive situation. And anything that they produced out of there while, like, it was kind of a research type situation, like all the science was already sorted out. Now let's lump this down in a food desert and let's feed the community. So they're putting classes on, they were showing how to, and then they just started utilizing the parking lot, turning that into a outdoor garden. They had solar panels on the roof. Is there something like that within an hour's drive of here? Because that's the only city I've heard that's doing that. Of course, I don't go looking for the information. I'm sure there are others,
Yeah.
but it was unique at the time. And I moved away from there January 17th, so it was already happening a year or so prior to my departure from Virginia.
I don't know anything like that around here. I mean,
That's what I'm aware of.
yeah, sounds great.
We have some great opportunities right here in Clarksville to build something like that.
Yeah.
They use the old YMCA in the triangle. The old neighborhood.
Yeah. I mean, I'm only in like one section of the USDA, and USDA is a very large umbrella. And there are untold amounts. Like, I know some schools, for instance, like there's a whole farm to school initiative in USDA that's in a different agency than I'm in. But they give out a lot of grants for like school gardens and things like that. And then the Food Nutrition Service, like where SNAP is, I know they give out sometimes some grants for like gardens and things like that to help feed communities. So I don't know the ins and outs of those because that's not my specific area, but I highly encourage you, if you are interested in starting something like that, there are so many grants out there that you just type up, a little thing and they want to give, USDA wants to give money out. I was telling Kyla the other day, it is so hard to give money to folks, above board. To get money in the hands of farmers and then the hands of communities. But it's what we are trying to do. And it is our mission to get that money out there. So, I think if there's anything like that needed in this community,
The need is definitely there.
yeah.
I guess I should have invited our mayors,
Right?
or mayor, the city county mayor representative to sit in on this. Would have been a really good idea as an afterthought.
Well, there's so much out there. So it's just finding, like you said, finding it, like going to get the information and saying, I actually want to apply for this grant and get the right stakeholders and all of that. It is truly a full-time job if you start digging into it. But there is a lot out there, and it's a wide world. And I love hearing about projects like that because it's so encouraging to see like folks who care.
Blown away when I walked in and I was like, this is possible? I've never even heard, and I'm just like, my little 4x4 square foot garden, and I had no idea that type of stuff even existed. That's what opened my eyes to the other possibilities of how to, do things differently and more wisely and conservatively. Was through what they were doing there. I mean, they're growing a whole garden inside a gym.
And I'll say from like our agency's perspective and our sister agency, NRCS, I think where we're going long-term, like with these initiatives of like saying we want to be more involved in urban agriculture, I think we are heading in a direction where we are going to be trying to get more money to folks doing that kind of thing. Is it perfect right now? No, but I think that's where we are headed in the future and with future farm bills. You all may have heard the term farm bill that's passed by Congress every 5 years. That's how we get our funding. So if there's anything like this that you guys ever have like brainwaves about and you want to see this money heading in the right direction, I encourage you to have an open communication with your local Congress people and say, this is the type of stuff I want to see in my community, and I want to see you putting that money in the right place in the farm bill to make that happen.
Or is that all being done through donations and grants?
I'm not sure, did they get that project
I
off the
have
ground?
no idea. I have no idea.
I think the person that started, I think they had some problem getting that off the ground. I'd have to go back and talk to them to see, but yes,
It started as all private, though, didn't it?
yeah.
But I mean, there's monies available to, and, you know, and I think that that's the thing, just knowing what's available and how to pursue it, because I think, you know, I'm new to Tennessee, like, I don't know
Hey,
any of this
welcome.
stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's hard to know about. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly,
And that's why Extension is such an amazing service,
absolutely.
because it connects you to folks. You guys are the great connectors.
I'm learning all kinds of things today. I need to pay more attention to my own meetings.
And that's how it goes, right?
Well, the title was completely misleading, but I'm thoroughly enjoying this.
Hey,
You know,
great.
because slow your roll, you know, know what you plant, and I'm like, okay, I'm not really putting some of gardening, so then on vacation, maybe I'll learn a tip, but I
I'm the
mean.
same way,
this is
which is,
Okay.
it's a pleasant surprise.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
so glad y'all are here. Y'all are pleasant surprise.
The overall program is called Slow Your Roll,
Yeah.
Plan Before You Plant.
Yeah.
So we have different speakers come in each
Right,
month on a
right.
different topic, and some of it may be production.
Yeah.
You know, this time it was grants.
It was
you know.
timely, though, very timely.
Well, thanks, ladies. I appreciate it. I also wanted to briefly mention, this is another initiative that's coming along, is our Equity Commission. And this is something new under this administration. And it is to make sure, I'm just going to be honest, in the past, FSA does not have a great track record of always being equitable. We have in the past been sued, rightfully so, for doing bad things against Black farmers and other people of minority status. And that's awful. I was not here at the time, I would like to say. And I don't make decisions like that, but you know, we are making a truly intentional effort, though, to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so that is where our Equity Commission comes in. And again, this is something that is open for anyone to be involved in. So women are considered a minority as well. If you ever felt like this was something you felt called to serve on, you could apply to be a member of the Equity Commission. And so that is something that is new. It rolled out this year, and it looks like 2-year terms, and it is a presidential appointment. So that is something that you would be appointed to by President Biden or, you know, in another administration, not president. But, you know, I think a lot of people see things like this and they say, that is so big, I could never serve on that, you know, but y'all are the people they want. They want people who are regular farmers who face everyday challenges and who have gone into a local county office and actually worked with people there so they know where things are lacking. So I just wanted to mention that. I think it's a cool thing that we're, you know, like I said, in the future, we're going towards more inclusiveness in the urban scene and more inclusiveness to all minorities and everything like that. And that's, you know, hopefully going to be a good brand new day for us. Also, we have grant review committees. We were just talking about 1,000 grants, right? There's so many grants out there. Maybe you don't want to apply for a grant, but another way that you could serve is by reviewing the grants. I've actually served on some grant review committees, and it is rigorous, y'all. It is rigorous. I'm not going to lie about that, but it is so rewarding because you read about projects like the one you just mentioned. You read about projects that are taking, there was one that, he's a TSU guy in East Tennessee. I can't remember his name. Best? Michael Best, maybe? TTU, not TSU, TTU, Tennessee Tech. Anyways, a professor, he applied for this grant and he taught the local kids at Tennessee Tech how to grow heirloom tomatoes. And then they got to go sell them at the farmer's market. And they learned about the value of the free market while also learning how to grow tomatoes. That's so cool. I'm so proud that we gave them money. You know, like you get to read through all these things, you get to learn about these projects, and you get to make connections and see what's going on in Tennessee. So that's also another way that you can service by serving on these grant review committees. Sometimes you read proposal after proposal and they're very boring, but sometimes they're inspiring. So you would probably have to recuse yourself for like your grant, you know, when it came up for discussion, but I bet that you can, honestly. It would just be a step out of it for that one particular one. Or you might have to be on another grant review committee, but I can't imagine, as long as you weren't laying it on your project, it should be. So, it's a good option. By the way, Carla has this presentation and she can email it out to you guys all later, so you can read more about it later. Okay. And I just want to always shout out our stakeholders here in the state. In Tennessee, we are so lucky, y'all. We are so lucky because UT and FSA and all of our stakeholders, we all actually get along. It is not like that in every single state. The whole ag community can either be a big happy family or it can be loggerheads, you know. So Tennessee is very lucky that we have incredibly positive relationships. And I just want to call out a few people just so you know about them. Of course, you know about Extension because you're here today. SARE, was it Southern
Agriculture Research and Education.
Yes. Yeah, that is a great place to go to get grants. It is through Extension as well.
And publications and a lot of resources.
Yes.
A lot of resources.
A lot of resources. So I always mention SARE. SCORE is technical assistance. If you guys ever need, SCORE is for retired folks who want to still serve. So if you ever need help with like a business plan or anything technical like that, you can get involved in SCORE, and someone who is like a retired leader of business can walk you through the beginning steps of your process. UT also has the MANAGE program. It's an acronym that I can't remember, but it spells out MANAGE.
That one I can't remember either. Ag economics.
Ag economics, they can help you. They always say if you can't make it work on paper, you probably can't make it work in the dirt. So they're a good group of people to get involved with if you have technical needs. Farm Bureau is one of our best partners, specifically in Tennessee. Tennessee has one of the best Farm Bureau and the biggest Farm Bureau in the nation. So this is Young Farmers and Ranchers. There's also Farm Bureau Women's Group. And then there's also just your normal Farm Bureau, and you can run to be on the board of your local Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau is a lobbying group, technically, but it is a grassroots lobbying group. So they don't make a decision that does not come from their members themselves and up through the ranks and all the way to Washington. So they are always representing the farmers of Tennessee in Washington, and they have huge leverage when it comes to that farm bill we were talking about. And if you need a message to your local congressman, Farm Bureau can help you get it there. I probably shouldn't wax so poetic on Farm Bureau as a federal worker, but here I am. So they're great. I really encourage you to get involved with your local Farm Bureau. I think a lot of people just think of them as an insurance provider, but they are also an agricultural advocacy group. The National Young Farmer Coalition, also an advocacy group, and you don't actually have to be, you're actually pretty young, but like everyone else can be involved too. And I think I'm too old for it too. They still want everyone involved. Okay, the State Department of Agriculture. I used to work there, so this is near and dear to my heart. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture has a cost share. So you put up some of the money for projects, they'll put up some of the money. It's usually a 50% cost share if you go to Extension, things like this. If you don't go to any educational opportunities, it's a 35% cost share. They will get you blueberry bushes. They will get you, if you wanted to start up an agritourism operation, they can help you pay for restrooms or pay for a parking lot. They will help you pay for hay equipment. There's so many things.
You have to have a business plan.
Yes.
And you have to have filed a Schedule F for 2 years. So you have to show some for income or loss.
But actually, they have the beginning
Schedule
farmer
F.
program. I don't think you have to have a schedule for the farmer stuff they've started.
Okay, good.
That's new this year.
Good.
So what is agritourism? I saw those signs all over Georgia when I spent 2 weeks touring Georgia last year.
It's very self-explanatory. It's tourism on farms.
I'm a Christmas tree farm, so we're considered agritourism. Agritourism is patch Christmas tree farm, even a haunted like corn
maze,
maze, corn
corn
maze,
maze.
anything like that, that's agritourism. You're bringing people out to your farm to do something, to have some kind of activity. The state, we have an association for agritourism here. So if you're like interested, we'd love for y'all to join us and just help your resources.
I'm on tour of tobacco farm. I'm when they're smoking tobacco. That's what I want to be. I'll be doing that stuff. Thank you. Yes. Season's coming too.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
yeah, it is.
Agritourism is like, it's a huge, it's almost anything you could dream of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's so wide.
the term makes sense, and I've never even seen the word until, like I said, everywhere in Georgia, there was agritourism signs pointing down this road, that road, that road. And I'm like, I've never seen this, and I travel quite a bit across multiple states this year.
The term is like pretty newer, like I think it's been gaining popularity in like the last decade or so, but I'm with you, I don't think it was like in the
Well, Georgia's got it
nomenclature.
going on.
It is like the new buzzword, but it's big.
They just need to throw agritourism at the bottom of their sign somewhere, and then that'll get people into thinking that's what that is.
And I will do a shout out real quick, the Pick Tennessee products, if you've ever heard of that.
I have.
There is a whole listing on their website for all the agritourism folks across the state. And it is, I can spend hours on there because it's like folks doing like horse trails. I mean, it's a wide world.
Glamping,
Yeah.
some people grow tulips and have people come and take them, it's through agritourism. Just so many different things. Some wedding barns and stuff like that, there's so many people.
Yeah, and like I said, TDA will give you money for it, which is great. And I do want to mention when it comes to the TDA cost share, it's called Tennessee Ag Enhancement Program, and it is incredible. I highly encourage you to look at it, but it is a reimbursement program. So you have to pay 50%, we have to pay 100% upfront, and you get 50% on the back end. That's not available for everyone. So my plug for FSA is we got loans, y'all, and there's no penalty for paying them back. So please, please, please come get a loan with us, then apply for the cost share. We'll give you a loan because we already know you're going to get 50% of the money right up front. And then you can immediately pay us back 50% after you get it from the state. And we are into that. Yeah, that is something that we absolutely sanction and are very into. And it is a great program for us. So that's what we want. We want the federal and state to work together and, help y'all. That's the bottom line. Trying to think what else you can do at TDA. You can do anything. You can get licensure for regulatory things. If you wanted to make some food to go to the farmer's market, or if you wanted to open up a processing plant. That's very much needed in our state right now. Christmas tree farms. I don't know if you guys have to go through licensure with the plant folks.
Yeah, because they're not growing their stock. Now, if you were
Your greenhouse.
greenhouse, like if you're raising your own plugs and such like that and selling them, you have to have a permit to do that.
Yeah. Dairy.
If you're buying plugs from somebody else and reselling them, then that's a different permit. They have nursery, greenhouse, and several other things.
Yeah. So that is all through TDA as well. And I'm trying to think, I would encourage you to visit Pick Tennessee, and Pick Tennessee can also advise you for Christmas tree farm or something like that. If you, they can give you free marketing services, which is what I used to do. So that's pretty cool. You don't have to pay for everything. Okay, we talked about the conservation board actually already. That's the soil and water conservation board, and then also our county office committees. Am I leaving anyone out of our stakeholder group?
No,
That's a miracle.
because extension that covers, both of our land grant universities. Trying to think of where else, the TAPE program. Just your city and county leadership, I guess. But, yeah, I think you pretty much covered it.
Okay, cool, great.
I can think of one more that might be a
Let's go.
good partnership. The Farmer Veteran Coalition of Tennessee.
Amen. Yes, how can we forget?
Sorry, yeah, it sounds like somebody's gonna pop me, but yes, I am on an advisory board.
We both are. I just don't ever participate in the meetings.
but they are, they're very new in Tennessee. The Tennessee chapter has only been in existence for like 2 years, 3 maybe.
Yeah, officially sanctioned. Yeah.
Officially, because there's a national farmer veteran coalition, but as a veteran, active, retired, I mean, they have a fellowship fund where you can apply for, I think it's up to $5,000. And that is helpful to beginning farmers,
They give out a tractor.
and and just catching those military folks as they're transitioning out of the military and would like to get into agriculture as a career. That's a good way to.
Yes.
We've Yeah,
Not
we're
since the
supposed to
pandemic.
have a boot camp at some point over there. We've been working with Kentucky and have had some meetings and such like that. Right now, I'm working with the Soldiers in Recovery Unit with a garden. It's basically a healing garden. And so we go out there, well, they have it twice a week. I go out there once a week and I just talk to the soldiers. We talk to them about gardening and when it's time to pick, what kind of bug this is. But I always try to emphasize the careers in agriculture that they would be eligible for. I mean, the skills that they've learned in the military. And
They beautifully dovetail.
they do.
A lot of the military skills go in agriculture so well. Working on large machinery.
It does.
There's so many things that just makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. So that program is really good. It's been fairly new in development, especially for me. I guess I've been working with them just for the past maybe 5 years.
And I will also mention the Farmer Veteran Coalition has a marketing program called Homegrown by Heroes. And it's completely free. All you have to do is sign up and they will give you a logo. And you can put that if you have a value-added product that you're taking to market or selling in a grocery store or something like that, you can put that logo free of charge on there, and it just sets your product apart, shows that it was grown or made by a veteran. And so that is something that's pretty cool. And it's free.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I mean, when they see that Homegrown by Heroes, they will buy.
Makes a difference to
and they
me.
will. That's just another way that our servicemen can continue serving their country. It's through agriculture.
And they always say they serve twice. They serve by serving and then by now feeding America. So I like that. I always forget Farm Veteran Coalition. They're the best.
Good recovery though.
Yeah. That's why I gotta ask Carla. I'll just give you a sanity check. Okay, so these are just some tips for success, and this is the last slide I have. Mainly it's just to stay in contact with your local folks. Once you get involved, please stay involved and stay in open communication with everyone at your local offices, both FSA and NRCS. Like I said, we're not scary. I mean, I'm maybe like a little extroverted, but like everyone's still pretty friendly. and they would like for you to come talk to them. So with that, does anyone online or here and have any follow-up questions or anything like that? I have a lot of stuff over here, and I have a loan fact sheet that I'll make sure you should loans get, because that's got all the relevant information on there. And then that first sheet there is our beginning farmer contacts, and my contact is on there, my email. So you can reach out to me if you have any questions. So, and for everyone online, my email is Greer, Greer, .Gill, Gill, at USDA.gov, and you can reach out to me. So you have so many good questions, Gary. You might not have any questions now, but if anyone has any. Thank you for coming today. I really appreciate it. It's way more fun when I have people to talk to.
There's so many programs out there that people just don't know about. Until you sit down and you visit with your NRCS agent, or just go visit the USDA Service Center. I mean, like you get a farm ID number if you're eligible for programs. They have pollinator programs. They have an orchard program where the cost share can help you put out native grasses and such for pollinators, fruit trees. What else is native grasses? Just to, if you've got a lot of land and you don't know what to do with it all, you can put it into some of these programs and still keep it working while you're repairing the soil, and things like that. So I know one family, the Linda and Gary Ham, they have blueberries and Christmas trees. And I know they have used TAEP and the USDA grant, and I'm sure you all have too. Yeah.
And again, I mentioned it very briefly, but actually also high tunnel program, where they'll cost you on a high tunnel. And that increases your growing season to almost year round, which is really fantastic. I actually just visited a farm the other day, and they've gotten like 5 high tunnels through RCS. And they are now they were just going to one farmer's market, now they're up to 10 with that increased production. So, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And as an agriculture agent, I really push that program of getting a high tunnel on your farm. Because it's more and more, we need local food. And we can extend our growing season by having those high tunnels. A high tunnel is basically an unheated greenhouse. You can open the doors on the end or put the sides down to cool it off, or close it up during the winter months, and it'll stay nice and warm in there. And you just, you work with the soil that is there. And some of them even are like sliding. You can move them over, so maybe, move it over to like another lot or plot, and let this one lay fallow, maybe plant it with a cover crop or something, and let that soil recover, put some of those nutrients back into it, and grow your produce where you moved your little
This
high
farm that I
tunnel.
just visited, they were also rotating their chickens through.
Okay.
So that was providing like the nutrients for the soil. It was so neat, like, because they had so many, so they could just
Oh,
keep rotating around. Yeah,
that
it was
would
so
be a
neat.
good idea.
And it also helped the pests.
Yeah.
So if I reach out to you and say 4 or 5 months, hey, I've got a friend, she needs to talk to that lady from the USDA that talks about farmer stuff.
Uh-huh.
That will reference this.
My name's Greer, and rhymes with beer. You can be like, "What's up, beer lady?"
But yes, and I can get you in touch with our local, every local USDA office. Okay.
I'm embarrassed to ask this because I knew you've answered it already, but I want to do like probably 2 acres in pollinator. So I need to start by applying for a farm ID.
Yes.
Because that is considered a crop, even though it's not a.
Yeah, and that will actually be through NRCS, but I do want to mention, if you want to participate in NRCS programs, you still need a farm number through us, through FSA. So anything underneath in either of those, you start with us with a farm number, and then it opens up a world of possibilities for both departments of our agency. Yeah.
And like you said earlier, you don't have to have, 2,000 acres or whatever to get a farm ID number.
You have
can be
one hemp
you
plant.
can have one hemp plant. Or, just a small garden plot, maybe you're.
Blueberry bushes of the raccoon.
Yeah.
There you go.
What was your question?
Does that form ID tied to tax ID or tax ID?
It is not,
Does
no.
it require tax ID required?
Yes, you do need to bring in your information like that, but no, it is not tied to it, not at all. Now, again, if you're applying for the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, they will tie that in. They need to see your tax ID and your Schedule F, but we do not. So. And, we were talking earlier, like maybe there's not always a program for you, but there might be a program that you could, be in, with a little bit of finagling. And so it's, it's still good to talk to your local folks to say, like, what could I be doing in 5 years or in 10 years or, down the line, and just see what's out there, because we want to give you money. We really do.
Do they have like a, money? I mean, is there anyone that you could make an appointment with as like a counselor to go in and say, I've got 29 acres.
Yeah.
I'm new to Tennessee. My husband wants to do seasonal cattle. I want to do, it's just, it's like we know what we want to do. We have the vision, but getting from A to B, I think that we're still kind of, we're building the pole barn. I mean, we're like a big construction site right now, but
that's the perfect time to have this conversation. So yeah, I would set up when you get your contact information from the local office. The woman there is named Lisa. She's super nice. You can come in with your husband and talk to her, and she can go over the different programs. And then once you got your farm ID, NRCS will actually come out to your farm. You'll have to come into us. We don't leave that. We don't leave very often.
No
Sorry
field
about that.
trips.
Yeah, we don't leave. NRCS does though. So you'll come in and talk to us. We can talk about what goals for programs you can have with us. And then NRCS will come out and actually talk with your conservation plan and look at your farm and see, is there a low spot that's a wetland? Is there a place where you put in these pollinators or these buffer systems and things like that? And yeah, get technical assistance.
We need it. We're city slickers, make it a big change.
And Extension does that too.
Yes.
You know, we do that, you know, we go on site visits, help you, you know, help you develop your farm plan,
How you ever
help you
for
do a
lunch?
site, kind of a site assessment.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm not in the office a lot of the time, is I'm out, you know, looking at places, new farms, and, you know, well, print off a Google map or some type of plat and, you know, just start kind of identifying the areas. Maybe you do have a wetland here and you need to protect. And maybe you have a rocky outcrop where nothing's really going to grow. So maybe you want to put your pollinators up there. But, you know, just identifying those different things on your farm, like a site assessment that you would do with a landscape design when you first start. So see what you've got, what you can do, and then go through USDA. And oftentimes I've gone with USDA on these visits too. Yeah, we all get along pretty good.
You join her on the site visits to the farmers market people who are reselling and not selling their own grown stuff?
Now, we don't have any
No.
oversight on that, no.
No, I actually work out of the state office, so I cover the whole state,
And
but our local.
I have no oversight on any of the markets in Clarksville. Okay, so the downtown market has policy where it is supposed to be.
So I thought you had said in previous meeting that you have been called to go check those.
Yes, I have.
Oh, we get the calls, but you can't do anything.
I do.
Yeah.
I used to
Yeah,
get the calls when I worked.
yeah, I have. Yeah, gone out to the.
What do you do? Prove what-
Well,
If
What
they're
do you
selling,
do?
if they got it done.
I guess if they're
For
not putting it in the
example.
ground, then they know they're screwing it.
well, for example,
You know, this was
okay.
the recent one.
Yes, the people were spotted at the Fairview auction, and they were just reboxing the produce and bringing it like it was their own. Okay, they got caught. The market manager asked me to go out and do site visits to look at where they said that they were growing these crops. Okay, I went out, we drove around. Every plot that I saw, I was like, there is no way that you grew those beautiful tomatoes and peppers in this weedy, yucky looking plot. You know, so they don't always like the answer, and then they don't like me anymore, because then I'm the narc. I tell the market manager, no. You know, so that's the kind of thing. You know, if you go out there and you can see that they're growing what they say they are, then it's all well and good. You go back to the market manager and say, yeah, they're doing this. They've got some excellent produce. But if you say no, I went out there and they showed me 3 or 4 weed patches with a few things growing in them that look nothing like what they've got at the market, and then that market manager would make the decision and remove them from the market.
I'm curious. How do you reach out to those folks? You know, contact them?
Like the market
They show
manager?
up on their property.
No, you would call them. I mean, usually,
Not necessarily.
Not invited.
Just the environment, they have appointment.
It's not announced.
yeah, it's not unannounced. Usually it's like within the market situation, one vendor will kind of tell on another vendor that their products are coming from an auction. And then the market manager would call me, like they did on this one case, and I went out to look. So I don't go out seeking them, you know, to make sure, but if I'm asked, I will go out and do a farm inspection. And I just have to write a letter to say if they're growing what they say they're growing and all this stuff.
So you said earlier that you cannot be like
Mhm.
look at every part of the land, or just the parts, like we have so many acres that we're planning to venture out on something different. But Is this the exact section of the land I'm talking about?
Well, it depends. I mean, in my mind, I go about it. I get the address of the property, okay? And then I'll go through the USDA web soil survey. And I will look at the soil map and the soil data. And that gives you an idea of where you've got good soil, whether it's prime farmland, whether it's wooded, whether it's just a dirty limestone, you know, gives you some idea of the parent soil. And so I start looking at that from the ground up first. And then when I come out to the site visit, we're going to look at whatever you want. You know, like if you're saying, I want to put an orchard here, and it's you know, it's a low spot and kind of safe damp, I'm going to say, no, that's not a good place to put an apple orchard or put an orchard. You might want to put it over here. So it just helps you to start to plan.
You soil test too.
Yeah, we do soil tests through our office, and
Super helpful.
typically, you know, you bring your soil sample in. I go over it every day on how to take a good representative sample. You got to know what you want to grow, and then you get the results back from the UT lab, and usually they'll call me to interpret the results too, and we'll talk about what, you know, how to put those applications of lime and nutrients down and such like that. So, but if you're a homeowner and you have a tree that you think is dying, I mean, that's a lot of the calls that I get. You know, I will go out and look at that tree or look at plants. Since gas has gone up so much, I will have to say that I've been trying to get people to send me pictures. And, you know, if I can't diagnose it from a picture first, then I will set up and go on a home visit. So just trying to save a little bit of that running with gas as high as it is right now. So I mean, in my case, it's a what did I say? Jack of all trades, master of none.
How many jobs?
I think about 20.
Real quick, I just looked up the office information for here. I'm gonna share that real quick. Yeah.
Okay, for the folks online, did anybody have any questions? No, you got the sound on. There were.
Yeah, everyone just said thank you in the chat. So that is.
It's
I'm
showing up
sharing.
here.
It's not up there. Weird.
It just popped up on here where you shared it. Because I'm in the Zoom meeting. Here's co-host. I don't know why.
I don't know either.
It's our internet gremlin. But I will send that out also. Oh, for Master Gardeners. Not on TV.
Can you guys see that? I don't really know how to make it
Oh, there
bigger.
we go.
Okay, so Lisa Parchman is the county executive director at your local office here, and Patrick Moore is that farm one person who you're reaching out to in Dixon. And like I said, this is the nicest office I've ever been in my life, so I encourage you to go by this very deluxe. And Kylie will probably be hanging out.
Just a matter of getting to know, you know, the right people in the different offices. You know, and you know, in our, well, I mean, we have an extension office in all 95 counties. And this depends on the size. We've got a fairly large office here. We're down to ag agents right now, which is crazy, but that will be fixed soon. We're going to get some people hired in. But like I said, in every county, you will have an extension office that you can go visit and at least sit down and talk with them and stuff like that. Not where I was going.
Well,
I lost my train.
y'all are the doors to everyone else. You know, they can always suggest other people to talk to, which is the best.
I remember what I was going to say. Okay, like my specialty is for horticulture and small farms. I don't work with animals, but I have coworkers that do livestock and forage, you know, or the cows and sheep and stuff like that. That was just not my background. And I don't want to give advice on something that I don't know about. So horticulture crops, commercial horticulture, including tree care companies and to greenhouses, you know, that all kind of falls under my area. But like I said, we have agents that we just hired a gentleman. He'll be part 4-H and part ag, and he will be working with our row crops, you know, corn, wheat, soybeans, tobacco, and traditional forestry. And it's where I deal with more urban forestry.
And there's always trainings online too, like you mentioned, there's so many things where you don't have to come here in the office to learn about, but you can do, like you said, your husband's looking at cattle. There's the Master Beef program through Extension. There's now a Master Farm Manager program that's brand new. It's in depth. There's so much information in the Master Farm Manager program. I think it costs like $100 and you get the most information in the world.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And I got to put a plug in then, but because I actually work for TSU.
Yeah, the Beginning Farmer Academy is the best thing in the world.
TSU New Farmer Academy, that is our signature program. We have 3 New Farmer Academies across the state now. We have one in East Tennessee, Middle, and West. And so I'm the co-coordinator for the Middle Tennessee. And so what this is a 7-month class program. We meet once a month, like all day, and we'll have some class time, but we will go out and visit farms because we want you to get that hands-on information. You know, we'll throw in some business planning and you know, just kind of that structural stuff that you need. But then we're going to actually go out to a farm and look and let's talk to that farmer, you know, get your hands in the dirt if you want to, you know.
You all do scholarships too, right?
Yes, we do scholarships. The class is $175, but it is approved for the TAEP program now. So if you take the New Farmers Academy, you would be eligible for 50% on that cost share program. So, but we're right in the middle of it. We start in March and we end in October. But it's one full day a month. So it is a commitment.
You can tell when you have a graduate because they come in and they are ready.
Yes,
they are actually ready to be a farmer, and that is not always the case.
yeah.
So it's a great program.
So I'm better at the hands in the dirt part than the financial.
Yeah, again, it doesn't work.
But I've been learning a
It
lot.
doesn't work.
Since we're down an agent and a managed agent, I've been learning and expanding.
Anyone else have any questions? You guys are. I love it. I love how much you want to know. It's incredible. Stop sharing this. Everyone got that information down? Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap up the Zoom call. Thank you so much for being on here. And thank you all here for being here.
Thank you.